The 13 cabinet nominees being questioned this week face controversies ranging from sexual assault to vaccine skepticism. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum rolls out an economic plan to curb Chinese imports ahead of Donald Trump's return to the White House. Sheinbaum reiterates the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade pact is the only way to compete with China. North Korea fires several short-range ballistic missiles into the sea in an apparent message to the incoming Trump administration. The launch comes as the Japanese foreign minister visits South Korea for a series of meetings with top officials. South African authorities recover at least 9 bodies from an abandoned gold mine in the country's northwest province. Hundreds of illegal miners facing a crackdown by the South African government are said to be stuck at the site. And Spain imposes a tax of up to 100% on real estate purchased by non-residents from countries outside the European Union. The plan seeks to calm tempers over housing costs that have soared significantly over the last decade. We begin in the United States, where Donald Trump's transition team is grilling civil servants about who they voted for in the 2024 presidential election. Now, according to reports, they're specifically interrogating White House national security staff about their loyalty to the incoming president. These employees are also being questioned about their political contributions and whether they made any social media posts demonizing the president-elect. At least some of these civil servants have begun preparing to depart the White House, despite having been assured earlier that they would remain under the new Trump administration. Now, it's of course no secret that Donald Trump wants to get rid of anyone who is considered to be less than a die-hard loyalist to MAGA. Even his national security advisor pick, Mike Waltz, desires to dump all non-political appointees and intelligence officials to ensure the council is staffed with people supporting Donald Trump's agenda.
Everybody is going to resign at 12:01 on January 20. We're working through our process to get everybody their clearances and through the transition process now. Our folks know who we want out in the agencies. We're putting those requests in. And in terms of the detailees, they're all going to go back.
Now, another reason that Waltz wants to fire the current national security staff is because 2 whistleblowers who spearheaded Donald Trump's first impeachment in 2019 and were part of the council at the time.
The folks that we're bringing in are 100% aligned with the president's agenda. The entire world seems to be aligned with his agenda if you just look at the outreach from world leaders and everybody who wants to come to Mar-a-Lago. So, there's a little bit of a difference in that everybody was reflexively just against him, just for the sake of it, and the Trump derangement syndrome was out of control in 2017.
A mass removal of national security and foreign policy experts could deprive Donald Trump of his considerable expertise required to tackle challenges in Ukraine, the Middle East, and beyond. Moreover, such animosity sends the clear message that any policy differences that might stray from the Trump talking points will only invite further retribution.
You'd have underqualified people coming in and inexperienced people coming in and making these same decisions. And probably making them based on a political decision more so than a science-based decision or historical or institutional memory position. And things fall apart very quickly when that happens.
Meanwhile, current White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has argued against the dismissal of the current staff. He says civil servants should at least get through the early phase of the new government.
When they are selected to come over, they're not selected based on their political affiliation or their policy opinions. They're selected based on their experience and capacity. And so we have a real diversity of people in terms of their views, their politics, their backgrounds. The common element of all of it is we get the best of the best here.
Now, as the Trump administration readies itself for day one, it's becoming increasingly clear the next commander-in-chief prefers loyalty over competence. But given the numerous foreign policy and national security challenges facing the incoming administration, it's also clear loyalty only goes so far in a crisis. And staying in the United States, Melania Trump intends to live mostly in the White House once she returns as the First Lady on Monday. Now, this is contrary to previous reports which speculated that the president-elect's wife would not move to Washington. In an interview with Fox News on Monday, the incoming president's wife said she is already packed for the transition.
I have the plans. I could move in. I already packed. I already selected the furniture that needs to go in. So it's very different transition this time, second time around. I will be in the White House. And when I need to be in New York, I will be in New York. And when I need to be in Palm Beach, I will be in Palm Beach. But my first priority is, to be a mom, to be a first lady, to be a wife, and once, on January 20th, you serve the country.
She also took a dig at the Obamas, saying moving into the White House in 2017 was challenging because some of the information was upheld by their administration. Now, it's worth noting that Melania Trump remained absent from her husband's side for much of the re-election campaign last year. She was not seen throughout Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York as well. Her only public statement about Donald Trump was when the president-elect survived the first assassination attempt back in July. After rumors began spreading about their separation, Melania Trump suddenly reemerged in October to promote her memoir. In the rare public showing, she also talked about her upcoming documentary on Amazon Prime. Melania Trump also made a major revelation during the sit-down.
I don't always agree with what my husband is saying or doing, and that's okay. I give him my advice, and sometimes he listens, sometimes he doesn't.
The former model reflected on her first 4 years in the White House, saying the people of America did not accept her at the time.
I just feel that people didn't accept me. Maybe they didn't understand me the way maybe they do now. And I didn't have much support. Maybe some people see me as just a wife of the president, but I'm standing on my own 2 feet, independent. I have my own thoughts. I have my own yes and no.
The soon-to-be First Lady also expressed delight over the upcoming documentary, which will follow her day-to-day life as she returns to the White House. The film is set for a theatrical and streaming release later this year.
My life is incredible. It's incredibly busy, and I told my agent, I have this idea, so please go out and make a deal for me.
Now, it's uncertain whether Melania Trump will in fact stay in the White House full-time, but like her husband, she's made the return to Washington a money-making opportunity. And our next story is about the latest controversy swirling around Leonardo DiCaprio. As wildfires ravage parts of Los Angeles, the Oscar-winning actor has decided to flee Hollywood on a private jet. While thousands of residents scramble to evacuate the area, the A-list star, accompanied by his model girlfriend and his family, boarded a luxury jet bound for Mexico. DiCaprio, the self-proclaimed environmental warrior, has spent years preaching about climate change and sustainability. However, critics have been quick to point out that the same man who lectures about carbon footprints might need to rethink his own. Here's more from Tinseltown.
Leonardo DiCaprio, an Oscar-winning actor, climate change advocate, and apparently part-time jet setter, has found himself in the middle of yet another controversy. While parts of Los Angeles remain engulfed in wildfires, DiCaprio, along with his model girlfriend Vittoria Ceretti, his father George, and his stepmother, hopped on a private jet bound for Cabo San Lucas, Mexico's top tourist destination. In the midst of raging wildfires in Los Angeles, DiCaprio decided it was best to take the scenic route via his private jet. With flames consuming acres and acres of land, DiCaprio and his glamorous entourage were seen boarding a jet for a quick getaway to Cabo San Lucas. Forget fighting fires. Leo's headed for the beach, likely with a pina colada in hand. After all, what's more eco-friendly than contributing to the carbon footprint of an entire island while trying to escape the chaos you have spent years preaching about? The move raised eyebrows, particularly for someone so vocally passionate about climate change. DiCaprio's foundation has pledged millions towards sustainability and climate action. His Instagram is a curated gallery of eco-conscious posts. And yet, there he was, soaring above the flames in a jet. DiCaprio has certainly made a name for himself as an environmental advocate, taking to stages around the world to speak about the climate crisis. His COP26 appearance was hailed as a win for the environment. After all, he did choose to fly commercial, a rare feat for a man of his stature. Yet, let's not forget the numerous times he's been caught flying around the world in private jets, from New York to Cannes, often in the same breath that he lectures the masses about the perils of carbon emissions. In 2014, DiCaprio famously flew down to Brazil in a private jet for the World Cup. He and his friends then stayed on the world's fifth largest yacht. That too owned by a UAE-based oil tycoon, and they sailed around Brazil from Rio de Janeiro to Sao Paulo. In 2016, DiCaprio set yet another not-so-green milestone for a Green Award. He flew an additional 8,000 miles from Cannes to New York and back to get honored with a Climate Change Award. First, he attended the Cannes Festival in France. Then he flew to New York City in the US to accept his Green Award. And then he hopped again on his jet for Cannes for a fundraising event. Quite a traveler the Revenant is indeed. There is no denying that DiCaprio's heart is likely in the right place. He advocates for electric cars, takes the occasional bike ride, and even rides a Prius. But when your carbon footprint has been inflated by an endless series of private flights, yacht trips and multiple homes, it's hard not to feel a little skeptical. After all, preaching climate change from the comfort of a private jet feels a tad off-brand. Let's face it, DiCaprio's attempts at eco-heroism often seem more like a PR stunt than genuine effort. For every tree planted, there's a jet engine burning through gallons of fuel. For every climate summit speech, there's a yacht somewhere idling in the harbour. In the end, Leonardo DiCaprio's private jet fiasco is just another chapter in the ever-growing saga of celebrities who preach one thing but do another.
And now to the Middle East, where negotiations between Israel and Hamas are reportedly on the brink of a historic breakthrough. Officials say a potential deal to release hostages and end over 15 months of conflict in Gaza has never been closer.
Progress was made. We see some progress in the negotiations. Israel wants a hostage deal. Israel is working with our American friends in order to achieve a hostage deal. And soon we will know whether the other side wants the same thing.
The talks, which are currently held in Doha and mediated by Qatar and Egypt, have involved intense coordination between the outgoing Biden administration and the incoming Trump team, underscoring the high stakes. But while progress has been made, the deal isn't finalized just yet, with the clock ticking to bring the hostages home, including at least 7 Americans.
On the war between Israel and Hamas, we're on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition. I have learned in many years of public service to never, 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 ever give up. So I spoke to Prime Minister of Israel yesterday. I spoke to Emir of Qatar today. I look forward to speaking with President Sisi soon. We're pressing hard to close this. The deal we have structured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security to Israel, and allow us to significantly surge humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians who've suffered terribly in this war that Hamas started.
Now, in the first phase of the proposed agreement, Hamas would release 33 hostages labeled as humanitarian cases. These include children, women, and elderly individuals. If this initial phase goes through, it will pave the way for tougher negotiations, the release of male soldiers, young men, and the remains of hostages who did not survive. However, the second phase would begin on the 16th day after the deal is implemented, the officials informed. Even though Israel believes most of them are in fact alive, it is yet to confirm the status of all captives.
We are focused on getting the living back first. We want the bodies back too, for a decent, respectful burial, but we want the living first. But also, we need a guarantee that they are alive now and that they will be kept alive until they are released. Because we know that they can be executed in an instant, as was the case when we were close to rescuing our people.
So after 15 months of intense fighting, what is it that's in fact pushing Hamas to the table? Israeli officials point to a crumbling Iranian-led axis in the Middle East, with Hezbollah weakened in Lebanon and the Assad regime out in Syria. Hamas has found itself under pressure. Israel, however, isn't taking any chances. In fact, it's holding onto key bargaining chips with control over strategic territories in Gaza and a roster of high-profile Palestinian prisoners. Officials have made it clear those behind the deadly October 7 attack won't be going free, nor will individuals who are serving multiple life sentences.
It is clear what we saw in the area of the penetrating tunnels, what we saw in the area of threats, while we saw the heroic war that eliminated these capabilities. How will we make sure it will not happen again? How will we ensure that security control will be in the hands of the IDF, which will be allowed to act everywhere to prevent threats? We will ensure here in Gaza, as with Lebanon, as with Syria and in the East, that no more threats will be created against Israeli communities, citizens of the State of Israel and IDF soldiers.
However, unconfirmed reports suggest that up to 200 convicted terrorists could be released under the deal, though they would likely be sent to Egypt, Turkey, or Qatar rather than the Palestinian territories. Still, no one knows if this fragile deal will hold together long enough to bring the hostages home, or will it unravel in the final stretch? And our final report comes from Europe, where workplace trust is waning. Employers in Germany are taking extreme measures in hiring private detectives to spy on sick employees. Sick leave was, in fact, encouraged during the COVID-19 pandemic, and employees were paid in full for their time off. But now, absenteeism is soaring, with companies questioning whether workers are faking their sickness. While some say the system is being misused, employees in Germany are calling it a breach of privacy and trust. Here's more from Germany.
Workplace dynamics are changing globally. Trust and loyalty are the cornerstones of high productivity. Yet some employers are turning to extreme measures. In Germany, the corporate world is grappling with a controversial trend: hiring private detectives to investigate employees on sick leave. The reason? Sick leave abuse has surged, with economic consequences. According to Status, German workers averaged 15.1 sick days in 2023, up from 11.1 in 2021. And post-pandemic policies seem to have played a role. During COVID-19, employees could obtain sick leave over the phone for mild symptoms. The system, initially a necessity, is now reportedly being misused. And workers fake symptoms like coughing to secure leave, raising concerns among employers. The result? Companies are seeking outside help. Private detective agencies near Frankfurt are booming. Their job? To verify if employees on long-term sick leave are genuinely unwell. But why are employers going to such lengths? Because in Germany, employees on sick leave receive full salaries for 6 weeks. After that, health insurers pay sickness benefits. But extended sick leave creates financial strain on employers. And for some, hiring a private investigator is seen as an investment.
There are just more and more companies that do not want to put up with it anymore. If someone has 30, 40, or sometimes up to 100 sick days in a year, then at some point they become economically unattractive for the employer.
Shocking findings by detectives revealed that employees supposedly unfit for work were caught helping family businesses or renovating homes, while others used sick days for vacations or personal projects. But success isn't guaranteed. Even when evidence is gathered, dismissals can backfire. For instance, one case in Italy saw a bus driver reinstated after being caught playing the piano during leave. The court ruled it therapeutic for his anxiety. Experts warn that spying won't solve the root issues. Rising sick leave often stems from genuine problems, post-pandemic mental health challenges, respiratory illnesses, and workplace stress. These factors need holistic solutions, not just surveillance. While the ethical dilemma remains, Germany's approach raises questions about fairness, privacy, and the limits of corporate control. So, what's next for German workplaces? Will the detectives win out, or will trust prevail? The answer remains as elusive as the workers under surveillance.
That's all we have time for today. We certainly thank all of you for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Donald Trump's return to the Oval Office is imminent. He will soon take the oath of office and once again lead the nation.
God spared my life for a reason.
President-elect Donald Trump's first priority tackling illegal immigration and securing the nation's borders.
We're going to fix our borders.
The incoming administration has prioritized the Russia-Ukraine war. Can they succeed in ending one of the world's most challenging conflicts?
I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled.
And as he returns to the White House, will Donald Trump resume a bruising trade war with the world's second largest economy, China?
If China or some other country is behaving badly, we have things called tariffs.
All of this and more right here on Firstpost America.
Hello and a very warm welcome. I am Gusheen Garland and you're watching Firstpost. In the next few minutes, I get you the top 50 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started. Troubles mount for